Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. All right, we're back. It's time for Good Vibes. And what a great show today, because a lot of people out there struggle with jealousy. We hear it in the news all the time. We come on the news desk all the time and we hear about domestic fights that started from, yes, jealousy. Debbie Cox-Danova is back in the house. And what a great topic today.
Thank you. Yes, it's going to be a good one. So when we're talking about jealousy, we want to do, a lot of people will use jealousy and envy synonymously, okay? And there's really nothing wrong with doing that. But the world of psychology actually makes a distinction between the two. And a lot of it can have some crossover. So we're going to talk about that really quickly.
So wait, jealousy and envious? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess they are two different things.
Yeah. And a lot of people will use them interchangeably. Nothing wrong with doing that, but it's important to really recognize what the actual meaning of each is, because there's a lot of crossover when you're dealing with jealousy and envy. So first of all, envy. Envy is desiring something that someone else has, but believing on some level that you can't have it, right? So a lot of people use that jealousy to describe that, but that's really what envy is. Jealousy is being afraid that someone is going to take something, and by taking it, you will no longer have it. So that's what we typically more associate with relationships, for example, or, you know, if someone is vying for a job promotion and you perceive that they actually have more to offer and they might actually get the job, some jealousy will rise there. But you can also envy the qualities that they have. So if you perceive them to be smarter or, you know, more charismatic, you can envy those qualities in them while also being jealous because they're going to take the job that you have. Same thing with a partner. You have someone that you invested into, and that really is what was the play with jealousy, is that you have invested something into someone, right? Or you have an infatuation with someone and you see someone who might offer something better to that person and actually take them away from you or no longer make that person available to you. So there could be a crossover of like, I envy that person for the qualities that they have, and because of those qualities, I feel that they might take someone that I like.
Well, I've been using jealousy and envy the wrong way as a joke amongst our friends. You know, we barb each other quite a lot.
Right.
And when somebody barbs me in front of the group, I always say, jealousy is not a good character for you. So I should be saying envy.
Right. Well, yes, exactly. And like I said, sometimes people have it like, if you have those qualities in the world, there's a subconscious belief that there's less of that for me, right? So if someone has a lot of money, there's a subconscious belief that because they have so much money, that makes it harder for me to have money. Okay. So that's the first place to look, is these misunderstandings that we're running by that say that basically you're amplifying and glorifying a person and playing the underdog. You're positioning yourself as the underdog.
Isn't it sort of how you brought up too? Because I always look for my friend. My friends make a lot of money doing something good.
Yeah.
I'm always happy for them, but I grew up with not a lot of money.
Right. So there. And here's the thing: is that if you are someone, you know, I've been asked, well, you know, if I feel so much envy when I see a friend of mine winning, and I feel so much envy that I can't be happy for them, does that make me a bad friend? And I always tell my clients, no, that makes you a human friend. And the first order of business is really to acknowledge that you feel that feeling of envy within yourself, because it has any lower vibration emotion has important information for us that is trying to help us to realign with good feelings. Okay. And jealousy and envy are no different. Envy is two components, right? I desire something, and I also am operating by the misunderstanding that I cannot have that. And so, you know, what Dr. John DeMartini says is that on a soul level, nothing is missing, right? So if you are looking at someone who has a lot of wealth, for example, and you believe that you cannot have a lot of wealth. That's a belief system that could shoot yourself in the foot every single time you go to make more money, right? So it's a call to look and say, okay, the desire means that on some level, I'm a match for this thing that I want, right? We know that as human beings. We talked about this just recently, that there's that spontaneous trait transfer. When someone is complimenting you on something, you automatically assume that they must have that quality too, because on a subconscious level, we kind of know if someone is focused on something, on some level, there must be a match for it within them, okay? So that's one component of envy, but the other component of envy, which is, I don't believe I can have it, is the part that we get to look at and course correct on. Because if you notice it in someone else, it's not only proof that it's attainable, right, and can be attainable by you, but it also can point to what areas do I feel I am lacking, and how can I, maybe it's skills, right? Maybe
So
you don't have
jealousy
skills.
is based on each person's desires.
Yes, in both regards.
And they're different.
Yes, envy and jealousy both are based on desires. But with envy specifically, what you need to do is correct on the misunderstanding that it's not available to you. So that's the part that kind of keeps you separated. It makes them look like this up on a pedestal, and it puts you and positions yourself down as an underdog. And the problem with that is that we talked about self-concept, as within, so without. So if you are treating yourself like the underdog, even if you don't mention it to anybody else, they can feel that coming off of you, and the world will respond in kind, which keeps a negative feedback loop.
So our show's called Good Vibes. They're putting on bad vibes.
Right, exactly. But the bad vibes, are the quote unquote bad vibes, are just there to help us get back to the good vibes. It's really just a signal within ourselves.
Just telling you, wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to have that woman.
Well, and here's the thing, is that with jealousy, where we typically more associate with relationship, right? Shakespeare called it the green-eyed monster, right? There are two types of jealousy. There's situational jealousy. Let's just say that you're really invested in a marriage for a decade, and this is your person, and you see somebody who's vying for their attention. That is a situational jealousy that you can actually point to. Like, there's something happening here. There's a real threat to the relationship that you've invested in. And so there is a reason to feel jealous. But then there's pathological jealousy. And I think we all know at least one person in our lives who is a victim of pathological jealousy, where jealousy runs on such a level that it actually takes over their lives.
Right.
And so we can talk about that after the break.
Yeah, I even saw a show last night, primates always fending off the challengers. So there's a lot of jealousy in chimpanzees and orangutans.
It's so natural.
Yeah, it really is. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. All right, we are back with Debbie Cox-DeNova, and we're talking about jealousy on Good Vibes. Sounds funny, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, so people, as you get older, you sort of pick your partners based on the fact that you look at them and go, okay, are they capable of putting me in a bad position? So wisdom can take care of a lot of that.
Wisdom definitely can.
But when you're in a passionate state, sometimes you don't look at all the markers.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that jealousy is whether you're in a your mature place or not place. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, studies show that as young as 6 months old, babies will grimace when they see their mothers interacting with a dummy baby, right? So jealousy is kind of interwoven. We just talked about primates. Jealousy is a natural state of being. So when we are experiencing it, what a lot of people want to do is they want to shame themselves for, oh, I must not be a good friend, or I must not be, whatever it is. But the reality is that there is real good information in it. So the first order of business is to acknowledge that you are jealous. Admit it, right? Admit it to yourself first, right? Because you want to kind of tease it apart and actually look at why you might be jealous. So on a piece of paper, you're going to write down, I'm jealous because and write down the why.
So that rationalizes your behavior.
Yeah, well, it actually puts a compassionate spotlight on it, right? So my friends went to the movies without me, and it made me feel jealous because I'm assuming that they're tired of hanging out with me, right? So you write that down for yourself. It's just in your own journal. You're not blasting it to the world because it can be very embarrassing to admit that you're jealous, right? But then after you do that, what you want to do is explore where the originating event comes from of feeling jealous in that way, right? You want to know that, like, absolutely this is connected to something that happened in the past. And sometimes, as with pathological jealousy, it becomes sort of an addictive experience of, I'm in a relationship, now I'm jealous. And and so if for example, you've been cheated on for real in a relationship, then that can actually create a trauma, so that every time you get into another relationship after that, if you haven't processed through that trauma, you will actually be very paranoid, imagining things. And it really is, at the end of the day, Dr. John DeMartini says, it is a misuse of your imagination. And we all know, like, imagination can really mimic reality quite well.
I can kill you because everyone cheats after you're cheated on the first time.
Right, exactly. It's that saying, once bitten, twice shy, right? It's like once it's happened, now you're kind of hyper-focused, and now your imagination takes over. And you may be imagining, for example, that all day at work, your partner is flirting with his coworker, and by the time he gets home, you're now in this mood because you're convoluting what you're imagining with reality. So again, first order of business, acknowledge it. Discover and explore where the original event comes from, so that you can see that this is something that has kind of traced back to this moment. And then what you want to do on paper is separate then from now, right? So you're going to write all the ways that the partner that you're with is different from the one before. Now, this is a different thing than if you're with somebody who has actually cheated on you within the context of the relationship. There's a whole other set of things there. And the person who cheated has a big responsibility to create a new foundation on which there is trust, and help the partner that was cheated on to heal through that.
But you can't get over it, but it takes a lot of work.
It takes a lot of work, and especially if you're staying with the partner that cheated on you, then you're going to need to create a new foundation in your relationship, and you really are going to need to have full transparency, honesty, and a lot of rules that before made
really,
it
for it
seem
to work,
silly.
don't you really have to get back to the point where you could trust that person being away from you?
Yeah, I mean, and also acknowledge that you're never ever going to have 100% a surety that you're not going to be cheated on, right? So it's a lot about having trust in yourself that if you are cheated on again, that you'll survive it and that you'll be okay, and really being there. But once you've done that, then what you want to do is put your imagination to good use instead of misusing your imagination. And what you can do with the help of a therapist or a coach or a counselor is that you can actually bring back the original memory of being cheated on, for example, and you can actually associate that with calm. So you're creating a calm state within the body while you imagine these cheating or worst case scenario, so that you're sort of rewiring yourself not to get amped up around the ideas that come forward as a result of cheating, which are completely normal, okay? The other thing is that once you've done all this internal work, you're going to want to communicate to the person or people that are involved in the feeling of jealousy. You want to use I statements, own your own feelings, use feeling language, and just say, hey, when you went to the movies without me and I wasn't invited, I felt really left out, and I felt like maybe you guys didn't want to hang out with me anymore, and ask for clarification. Now, this is where it's going to take a lot of humility and a lot of openness, because the resolution process may mean that you have to take into account that you may be overreacting and there may be nothing there, and they might say, well, we just knew that you didn't like horror movies, so we didn't think to invite you, right? Or something like that. And so, and then coming to a place where you're actually, again, comparing what's happening now to what actually happened then, and rewiring it within yourself. And in that way, jealousy can actually present as a catalyst for growth in your life, so that you can actually recover from things that have happened in the past and be with what is happening actually right now.
Yeah, we didn't invite you to the horror movie because you are a horror movie.
In some cases, you may find that you are, that you're right, with your imagination. But in most cases, the imagination just goes way off the grid. And we all known people who have a dream, partner has a dream that you cheated, and they wake up and they're still mad, right? The imagination can really, really work you up and actually mimic reality quite well.
Who were you with last night? I was laying here next to you.
Right. I know what you did,
you
right?
were dreaming the whole night.
Exactly. Yeah. So you just really want to make sure that you understand that a lot of jealousy really is just a misuse of your imagination. And so it's really important to actually suspend stop telling yourself stories or having conversations in your head, create some resolution within yourself, and then have an actual straight conscious communication with your partner or with the people involved so that you can actually get to the bottom of what is true.
Yep. So the difference between envy and jealousy.
Yes.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Good show.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back next week. More good vibes right here on HTV, Facebook, and YouTube. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.